On this edition of Southern Newsweek, a historic golf club rooms is destroyed by fire. 2 Queenstown teens spend 40 hours in a gondola for charity. And North Otago's wildlife came under fire at a recent hunting competition. Kia ora, I'm Melissa Barton. A clubhouse at Dunedin's Balnow's golf course was totally destroyed by a blaze recently. Fire crews struggled to extinguish the blaze in conditions made extra slippery by overnight snowfall.
4 Dunedin fire crews fought in strong winds to extinguish the blazing Balnow's golf course club rooms, which were totally destroyed by fire last night.
Just after midnight, fire crews were dispatched to a building fire here behind us. The first 2 trucks have observed a well-developed fire in the building. They've escalated the job and ordered additional resources in. Another 2 appliances have arrived.
With Dunedin hillsides bedecked with a light fall of snow, crews had to drive carefully along slippery roads to get to the scene, and then struggled to pull their hoses along the snow-covered golf course.
The weather has hampered our operations, not just in the fact that we've had to get here, but also our get to work with slippery conditions underfoot, and just the fact that it's something else to have to contend with as part of the incident response.
It's unusual for empty buildings such as club rooms to catch fire in the middle of the night, and La Noz says fire investigators attended the scene early in the morning and later today.
Obviously we're very interested to work out cause and determination of the fire. At this stage the weather has played its part in hampering that process, but we do hope to find a cause at this stage.
Of the 4 crews that attended, the one from St Kilda remained until later in the morning to dampen down any hot spots. In Dunedin, the south today.
2 Queenstown teens have spent 40 hours together in one of the resort's gondola cabins to raise money for charity. The 16-year-olds were pretty much isolated from the outside world, apart from the visiting journalists.
Good friends Jack Macbeth and Rohil Prasad from Wakatipu High School spent most of the weekend constantly riding up and down in one of Queenstown's skyline gondolas, raising funds for charity. While the trip up the peak is a highlight for many visiting tourists, the 2 16-year-olds say the gondolas are not really designed for a long-term stay.
Oh, pretty challenging actually. I don't think we really realise how small the space is, to be honest.
Other than being joined in the cabin by 1 or 2 friends or the occasional journalist, the pair have been isolated from the outside world.
So no source of entertainment, so no books, no phones, no nothing. It's just going to be warm gear, food and each other obviously. And the only exception of leaving the gondola is just to use the washroom.
They say sleeping is a challenge, and they only got a few hours kip during their first night in their chilly, cramped cubicle.
4 o'clock today is halfway, so we've got a wee way to go. During the day I think it's going to be alright, I just don't know how much sleep we're going to get tonight.
The duo are raising funds for the World Vision 40-hour famine, with this year being a step up from similar challenges in earlier years.
A couple of years ago I did 40 hours in a tent, so it's just a 1-person tent, and I had the same thing, I had nothing, no phones, no books, no entertainment. So I thought, well, you know what, why don't we take that same idea, but just kind of make it big on a grander scale. So sort of like, what's the first thing you see in Queenstown? It's a gondola. So if we could do it in the gondola for 40 hours, it's a really good way to get across to the public and the community of Queenstown and further.
The pair are among about 100 students from their school, raising funds with a combined goal of $10,000. In Queenstown, the south today.
Wildlife pests in North Otago were under the gun in the weekend's annual pig hunting competition. The competition also has categories for younger hunters who are encouraged to shoot pests such as rabbits, hares and wallabies.
The New Zealand Deer Association's annual North Otago pig hunting competition drew over 100 entries over the weekend. The event is designed to be family friendly and encourage young people to develop a passion for hunting. Organiser Steve Hansen says about a quarter of the entries were youngsters under 14, gunning for game such as rabbits and wallabies, while many adults were stalking wild pigs.
There's lots of prizes for the largest boar, average weight boar, possums, wallaby tails, rabbits, hares, etc.
While the $10 entry fee helps cover the cost of prizes, the event relies on support from local businesses and the goodwill of landowners.
We've also got a lot of sponsors that help us out, and the competition wouldn't run without them. We're very grateful. And also the run holders for letting us to go onto the properties to do a bit of hunting, and we appreciate their input as well.
Organisers say the event is a good way to control pests and enjoy a pastime. Near Oamaru, the South Today.
Enthralled crowds were transported to a magical moonlit garden as the Dunedin Midwinter Carnival put on its biggest show yet last weekend. It's the first time in the event's history organisers have partnered with a charity.
Dunedin's Midwinter Carnival lit up the night sky in the centre of Dunedin at the weekend. Carnival manager Jonathan Quayles says the illuminations replaced previous year's pyrotechnics quite well.
So we decided this year we'd try the projections onto the facade of St Paul's, accompanied by the cathedral choir singing, and we were really thrilled with how that went.
The animations weren't the only new feature of this year's Midwinter Carnival, as organisers chose to split money collected with a local charity.
Yeah, so this is the first year that we've partnered with a charity to help with the donation collections, and the arrangement is that we split the proceeds with them, so it benefits the Carnival and also the Life Matters Trust, which is a fantastic cause. And we were delighted to have them on board. Obviously we want to support what they're doing, and they were keen to support us as well.
Collecting duties were shared between volunteers from both organisations, and Life Matters General Manager Corinda Taylor says they were really thankful to be asked to be the first recipient charity.
We were so honoured to be chosen as the charity to help collect the koha on the night. It just means so much to us. It gives us more publicity to let people know that we are there for them and that we are actively working in our community supporting people.
Organisers estimate about 30,000 people packed the Octagon and surrounding streets for the biggest procession of lanterns in the event's history. Dancers in shimmering silver moth costumes whirled around a full moon lantern at the head of the parade. Neither the Carnival Trust nor Life Matters know the total amount of money raised as yet, but Corinda Taylor knows what their half of the proceeds will help with.
These funds will also help us to pay our counsellors.
Drummers, singers and brass bands kept the tempo up for the marches, and a jazz band at the tail of the troupe transported the crowd to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. Festival organisers say there were more than 1,000 volunteers marching in the parade, carrying hundreds of lanterns. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Dog excrement scattered along a footpath is spoiling the enjoyment of a popular Dunedin walkway for some families. Antonia Wood has taken a can of water-soluble spray paint to highlight the problem. She identified over 200 deposits of dog faeces along a half-kilometre stretch of the West Harbour walkway.
Antonia Wood and her family are regular users of Dunedin's West Harbour walkway, but she's disappointed with the amount of dog excrement along the path, with the risk of getting the unhygienic stuff on her family's shoes.
The area is littered with dog poo on the walkway, on the side of the walkway, in the picnic areas on the side of the walkway, and it's become a non-family friendly area, which is a pity because this is supposed to be a family friendly walkway.
Wood and her family decided to make other users of the walkway aware of the issue by using water-soluble spray paint to highlight every pile of faeces along a short section of the path.
In 500 metres we counted 217 dog poos, or piles of dog poo.
She says she'd like to see dog walkers be more responsible, especially as a rubbish bin is provided for the public.
There's a wheelie bin at the start of the walkway where they can put their dog's poo after their walk, or if they're going the other direction, just take the bag home with them. I'd like them to watch their dogs while they walk them, because sometimes if the dog's behind, they're not going to see the dog doing a poo. Yeah, we'd just love to use the walkway without worrying about stepping in their dog's poo and the poo getting everywhere on our buggies, bikes, shoes, cars, home carpet.
The Dunedin City Council says it hasn't received any specific complaints about dog faeces along the pathway. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, the first major snow dump of 2021 closes roads and schools across the south. And the brave or foolhardy ran into the water at St Clair for the annual polar plunge. So catch this and more after the break. Welcome back. The first major snow event of the 2021 winter closed roads and schools across the south. State Highway 1 into Dunedin was closed until midday, with other roads around the region reopening as the weather dictated.
Wanaka woke to a light covering of snow almost to lake level this morning. Contractors closed the Crown Range Alpine Pass between Cardrona and Arrowtown overnight. The pass was still closed at 11 a.m. The sun rose about 8:30, melting the snow quickly, allowing motorists easy access around town, while the gloom lifted to reveal panoramic scenes of white-topped mountains. Just up the road, Cardrona Village received a thicker blanket of snow. Lake Hayes and Henley's farm near Queenstown resembled winter wonderlands in the early morning light. The New Zealand Transport Agency closed roads around the south, including the Milford Sound Road. It was snowing lightly in Arrowtown off and on during the day, coating cars and making for sludgy driving conditions. Snow began to fall in parts of Dunedin at 3 p.m. yesterday afternoon, with thick flakes landing in Dalmore about 6:30 p.m. Flights were affected at southern airports, but most services from Dunedin and Otago were running as scheduled from late morning. Queenstown flights continued to be affected during the day. Snow settled in many suburbs across Dunedin last night, closing or delaying the start for many schools in the city, with schools in the hill suburbs closing for the day. The NZTA says State Highway 87 Kyburn to Outram in Otago was the only road still closed mid-afternoon. The agency recommends drivers watch following distances, slow down, have their lights on and expect ice on bridge decks and shuttered roads. The NZTA says people intending to travel in the morning should check the road conditions online before they head out. Across the regions, the South Today.
200 years ago, a Gloucestershire priest designed a way of how a complete set of church bells could be rung by one person. 2 centuries on, the tubular chimes of Dunedin's St Matthew's Church are set to peal out in celebration of this invention.
Bell ringer Jim Fayard is looking forward to joining a worldwide celebration of ringing church bells on Saturday. He says the bells of St Matthew's Church in central Dunedin are actually not bell-shaped, but the much rarer large tubular chimes, which, along with their heavy wooden frame, date back to the beginning of last century.
So they're a piece of historic Dunedin that's still actively in use 115 years later. And we're doing our best to try and maintain them.
There are only 3 other sets of bells like this in the country, and these ones are likely to undergo a restoration in the near future.
At some time, probably in the 70s, we think they put an epoxy aluminium coloured resin on them. Sure. And we're probably going to have to sandblast that off in order to perhaps get them galvanised, or some other surface coating to protect them into the future, because although the big heavy parts, it doesn't really matter terribly much, but there are a number of things, a number of reasons for wanting to just try and tidy them up so they don't corrode too badly.
Saturday's bell-ringing event celebrates an invention by the Reverend Henry Ellacombe, who 200 years ago designed a system for one person to be able to ring an entire set of church bells. St Matthew's Church in Dunedin is set to ring out the peal and tunes for half an hour starting midday Saturday. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The newest arrival at Queenstown's Kiwi Birdlife Park is named Te Ao Ho, which means new beginning. The North Island brown kiwi was given the name as an indication of the park's hope for the future.
A new visitor has arrived at Queenstown's Kiwi Birdlife Park. Before being released into the Kiwi House, staff gathered for a blessing and naming ceremony of this juvenile North Island brown kiwi who was raised at Christchurch's Willowbank Wildlife Reserve.
So his name is Te Ao Ho, which means new beginnings, and he's 2.5 years old. He's from Willowbank in Christchurch.
Te Ao Ho will join 7 other kiwi who are currently held at the park and are being looked after until they're big and strong enough to be released into the wild.
He could stay for a few years. The main aim is making sure that any younger kiwi are at least 1.2 to 1.5 kilograms in weight, because it means that they can actually defend themselves against stoats, which are the primary predators for very young chicks. But yeah, the bigger they get, the stronger they get, the more that percentage just increases of survival.
Te Ao Ho is now on display in the park's new Kiwi House, which opened last year. But his keepers say the bird may be shy and stay out of the public eye for some time.
Each kiwi is very different in terms of personality, so he will be housed on display in our brand new Kiwi House. Whether he wants to get up straight away or not, we're yet to find out.
The park has seen a revenue plunge of about 80% since COVID-19, and managers say giving the bird a name that means new beginning is a reflection of the park's optimism for the future. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Around 100 people braved the chilly ocean waters at Dunedin St Clair Beach for this year's polar plunge last weekend. The event was a fundraiser for the local Surf Life Saving Club, which has been patrolling the beach every summer for over a century.
A sizable group of hardy souls turned out for this year's polar plunge at Dunedin St Clair Beach on Sunday. The event raises funds for the local Surf Life Saving Club, and organisers are pleased with how the day went.
Around about 100. Yeah, we didn't actually take entry numbers, but yeah, good turnout. Better than I thought it would be. It's a good day for it as well. So.
They went in three times. Yeah, so I went in twice. Yeah.
I don't know. I have no...
Yeah, we just can't feel anything anymore. Yeah.
Could have been 10 minutes, could have been more, I don't know.
Established in 1911, the club has been providing a continuous service at St Clair Beach for 110 years. The volunteer guards patrol the beach from late October to early March, as well as of course during the midwinter swim.
Yeah, good surf, a few decent waves rolling in, wee channel out there that makes it interesting for people, but no, everyone was safe out there with the lifeguards protecting them.
The swimmers were treated to a warm shower after their chilly dip, thanks to local fire crews.
Had the fire brigade over there doing the hot showers. They got the water from Spates Ale House, yeah, and then come down here, warm everyone up after they're out of the ocean.
The water temperature was estimated to be about 10 degrees. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, a fan of electric vehicles tests a unicycle on Baldwin Street, and we have a look at storm waves pummeling St Clair Beach this week. So see you after the break. Thanks for staying with us. Baldwin Street has proven no match for an electric unicycle after the completion of a successful ascent by a one-wheeled vehicle. An energy company put a representative up for the challenge to see if the powered single-wheel vehicle could tackle the world's steepest street.
You know the old expression, what goes up? Well, in terms of the world's steepest street, it's generally the getting up which is the problem.
Well, it's the steepest street in the world, and it's definitely something that's, if this machine can make Baldwin Street, it can take any other path, and yeah, it's something to try.
This unicycle is about the size of a small suitcase, and the rider stands on platforms mounted either side of the single wheel. Aurora Energy Strategy and Reliability Performance Manager Denis Pushenko made the attempt on Baldwin Street, gliding up the slope with ease on his machine.
Basically, it's a big battery and motor inside, and it uses gyroscopes and accelerometers to balance you back and forwards, and balancing it by leaning and twisting side by side.
An 8-hour charge gives the unicycle enough juice to travel about 100 kilometres around Dunedin's hilly streets. Pushenko says he's tackling Baldwin Street to prove what can be achieved with electric personal transportation. And he doesn't think it's necessary to own a car in Dunedin.
I thought it would be silly to have a car, because just riding down a hill 4 kilometres and back and moving its all big machine and burning a lot of fuel, it's just kind of stupid.
That said, he doesn't expect to see electric unicycles taking over the streets anytime soon, because he admits they're difficult to learn to ride. However, he believes they'll be part of a larger trend toward electric transportation. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Predicted large sea swells rolled into St Clair Beach last week. Many people visited the Dunedin city beach about the time of the predicted high tide and weren't disappointed.
Waves smashing into the seawall at Dunedin's St Clair Beach drew squeals of joy from many sightseers.
Yeah, they love it. It's neat, the power, the spray, awesome.
Young Perry was among those enjoying the spectacle and rare thrill of having massive waves create huge plumes of water above their heads. And he knew exactly why people had come to the beach.
The giant swell.
Young Perry admitted to being a little scared of the huge waves, but says his dad was more nervous. His father, Pascal Saker, says sometimes it's tough being a responsible adult, knowing you've got to look after the youngsters.
Pretty exciting. Yeah, you've got to keep an eye on them. They get a little bit, they get quite brave, sort of more, what would we say, ambition than ability, maybe, I think.
A storm tide red alert had been predicted by the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research, commonly known as NIWA, for the southeastern coastline. Nigel Young says their 2 children were headed straight for the showers.
Yeah, I think showers, yeah, they're okay though. It's been cold. It's a bit warmer now, but spectacular.
NIWA had predicted a 6-metre swell for the Otago coast earlier in the week, and the Southern Ocean lived up to the predictions. While some braved the elements and got soaked, others filmed from the relative safety of their cars. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A netball game in Gore was recently whistled by international netball umpire Christy Simpson. She has also been an umpire at a New Zealand versus Australia test match and recently received her 3rd ILT Southland Sport Official of the Year award.
It's fantastic to see Christy Simpson here today. She's umpiring on her weekend off from ANZ, and fantastic that she was awarded the Administrator of the Year at the Southland Sports Awards last night. Everybody in East and Southland appreciates Christy coming back to umpire in the Premier Games today. Great to see her here.
I do it because I love netball and it's a challenge and it's great to be involved in a game that I enjoy. I've been doing the ANZ competition, this is my 12th season. And I've been officialing since way before that, since I was about 10 or 11, so a few years.
St John cadets based in Oamaru have been put through their paces in a series of tests. The competitions included a written examination and even a marching component.
45 St John cadets took part in a competition in Oamaru recently, which included them being confronted with simulated gruesome scenarios so they could be judged on their first aid skills. Many of the cadets say they have already accompanied paramedics to real-life situations.
There's been like
there's
things
been
that you've seen, like car crashes or
Yeah,
something,
I've
you've
seen
wanted
it.
to go help. But
There's been occasional places where I couldn't really help them because there was already paramedics on scene. So.
The competition also included marching drills, which the cadets say encourage self-esteem.
That's not
Great drills to show pride in our uniform mainly and to show pride in ourselves, but yes, it's pretty good.
The competition also included a written exam. In Oamaru, the South Today.
And that wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.